Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, hazardous weather graphic. There's still flood warnings out until midday Monday for the Chena and Good Pasture rivers. For again, they're not expected to fall below flood stage until midday tomorrow, and that's when they'll probably end the flood warning when it gets below flood stage, or kick it out a little longer. Now the flood watch here for the eastern Alaska range, that's expired, but I didn't notice it until after I did the graphic here. But there is still, I believe, flood advisories for the Tanana River through tonight into midday tomorrow once again, and just elevated stream and river levels there in the drainage areas of the eastern Alaska range as of course, the rainfall has ended, and water levels will be slowly coming down overnight tonight and into tomorrow. On to the fire danger map. Kind of an increase here over south central Alaska, Kenai Peninsula. Manuscus is sitting in the valley, and a little bit over the Copper River Basin and northeast Prince William Sound into the Cordova area, as well as Kodiak Island. It's been very dry there. Gusty northwest winds and temperatures in the lower 70s actually expanded the extreme fire danger areas there, especially back toward the southwest part of the island, Akiak. And wind mostly was responsible for the big jump here in the fire danger into the extreme category for south central Alaska and the Kenai Peninsula. Winds gusted at Stony River, for example, to 54 miles per hour today. And Valdez had gusts to 56 miles an hour. And Ted Stevens International Airport, Anchorage there, 51 miles an hour at about just after noontime today. So quite windy conditions. And Gulkana earlier today up just under 50 miles an hour, north wind gusts there. And Kenai currently seeing gusts 45 miles an hour. And so this should improve. The winds will be a lot lighter tomorrow, so the extreme fire danger areas may fall back a little bit, but won't be due to any rainfall. Just a very small area of high fire danger there. Looks like mostly to Haines and westward there, really not too significant. Southeast coast, pretty good fire danger-wise. And for satellite imagery, this is the infrared satellite imagery here, and you can see the state of the outline. A lot of high-level moisture here coming southeastward in the pretty strong jet coming over the top of the upper level high pressure area that's built in and retrograded back over the Bering Sea there. And really anything that's producing precipitation is from about roughly the Bering Strait and then back into the Russian Far East there. And that's going to actually continue to increase in those areas, spread southward to St. Lawrence Island tonight. But again, this just thin cirrus through here down to southwest of Kodiak. Nothing going on out in the Aleutians, just really the remnants of a weak frontal system here that's actually pulled the rain, or the high pressure easterly flows pushed that off to the southwest and west, with just some fog reported over at Shemya. And sunshine broke out over the Pribilof Islands and Bristol Bay today, as well as possibly the eastern Aleutians, and of course sunny across southern Alaska with those dry, gusty north winds, and temperatures in the lower 70s, places like Kodiak 72 degrees, Seward about the same, and Willow 71 degrees, and some lower 70s scattered across the Kenai Peninsula area, a little cooler in the Copper River Basin, and mostly in the 60s, lower 60s, upper 50s, upper 50s to lower 60s over the Panhandle. And still some scattered shower activity continuing over the eastern Alaska range. Really light though, just a few hundredths of an inch falling in the 12-hour period ending at 3 p.m. For example, Fairbanks at about 3/100ths of an inch, and anywhere else is pretty scattered, but nothing more than 1 to 3/100ths of an inch. So the heavier rain over, and of course those river levels will be gradually dropping. Another disturbance here keeping it unsettled up over the eastern Arctic coast into the eastern Brooks Range there. And shower activity here for the Panhandle along or east of the border now, with that system pulling off to the southeast, or east-southeast, the moisture anyway, but you got low pressure here over the southern southeast coast. That brought some shower activity to Annette, Ketchikan earlier today, but they went clear this afternoon. And on the chart, here's the main rain-producing area of that cloud shield here that's spreading southeastward across Seward Peninsula and Norton Sound. And some light rain into Tin City, Wales areas, back into the Russian Far East. Strong high pressure here to the south of that feature and also to the north. So this is kind of sneaking through in between the two high centers there with that upper level jet fairly strong, about 90 knots, sailing down out of the northwest. Upper level low developing or dropping into the Gulf of Alaska had enough spin to it and lift that it created some thunderstorms right out over the Gulf southwest of Middleton Island today. Otherwise, just very isolated showers lingering over the eastern Alaska Range area, Tok, Northway, that part of the state, but I don't think Tok or Northway saw anything. And then some really light precipitation, mostly around Kaktovik and Barter Island, with some clouds back to the west, clearing out there on the west side of the Arctic coast. Sunshine through the central interior, shower activity east of the Panhandle, and kind of breezy along the Aleutians, but not as breezy as it was here over southern Alaska today. And for tonight, this next front will try to push northward. The remnants of the old one will keep a chance of light rain, fog, and drizzle. Lower flying conditions, IFR, from Adak and Atka all the way out west to Shemya. VFR here, so a clear night coming up for St. Paul, St. George, possibly even on Alaska Peninsula areas. Clouds increasing here, and they're actually thickening and lowering, mostly over the Yukon Delta. It could be some rain slip on down here in toward possibly Unalakleet. It'll be very light if it does. Main threat back along the area from White Mountain across the Nome up into the Bering Strait there, and stays unsettled eastern Beaufort Sea coast. A couple of systems dropping down from the north is the reason, and still those lingering showers linger over the extreme eastern Alaska Range and also linger along the border there. The Panhandle, best chance though would be Stewart and Hyder, otherwise mostly clear and fair for the remainder of the southeast coast. And I don't think the shower activity definitely won't reach Kodiak Island tonight, probably not the clouds either. And tomorrow, another sunny day there for Kodiak. Much lighter winds though. You can see the gradient really slack here over southern Alaska now. And winds even over the northern Panhandle will come down. Still seeing gusts 35 to 45 miles an hour in the afternoon here in some of the windier areas of the southeast coast. Much lighter tomorrow. Clouds increase over the southern areas, otherwise mostly sunny. And the clouds increasing due to this warm front down to the south. Another system spreads a little more in the way of more widespread light rain and fog. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast, possibly making it to Arctic Village, but probably holding off until later. This area drops in over the Yukon Delta and into the Kuskokwim Delta to about the river there of the Kuskokwim River, and pretty good storm developing there south of the Aleutians, but the rain having a tough time getting in. But the front will lift northward Monday night and Tuesday and then weaken, so a pretty good widespread area of light rain and fog, and kind of breezy there for the central and western Aleutians. This area develops a weak low center now with rain into the Alaska Peninsula, showers and cloudy skies Kodiak Island, and upper level system here with a weak reflection at the surface. Keeps it unsettled over the upper Yukon Valley back toward Kaktovik. And a good storm here spreads moderate to heavy rain in across the southern Panhandle late tomorrow night and throughout the day on Tuesday. And that's down to 975 millibars. Low temperatures for tonight, 25 to 38 here, give or take, for the eastern interior. Near 50 back to the west, upper 30s Arctic coast, 40s for the Panhandle. Near 50, mid-50s for the Alaska Peninsula. Highs tomorrow, 65, maybe 70 again, Bristol Bay. Mid-60s south central Alaska, near 40 on the eastern Arctic coast, and about the same the next day.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving into aviation weather, first flying weather graphic for tomorrow, Monday morning. VFR here from the interior, halfway out across the Bering Sea. Marginal VFR from Moonback Island, then you get into the IFR there for the remainder of the Aleutians. But up the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, the Gulf, Panhandle, all VFR to start the day. IFR, eastern Boulevard Sea coast. And for the afternoon, that retreats back to right along or off the eastern coast there. Good VFR continues interior, Panhandle, Gulf of Alaska, Kodiak, Southeast Bering Sea here, Pribilof Islands, and maybe all of the Fox Islands, but IFR for the Aleutians and St. Lawrence Island. And for the Tuesday morning outlook, we've got IFR here right around the greater Wainwright area, eastward along the Arctic coast and marginal into the North Slope. And that area kind of extends down here along the eastern border to about Eagle here. And then VFR continues over the interior. We've got marginal VFR now pushing into the southwest coast and the Kuskokwim Delta, Nunivak Island, and the Pribilof's back into the marginal zone. IFR now just over the west central Aleutians, west of Atka and east of Shimia. VFR, the Alaska Peninsula from Unalaska Island all the way up to Kodiak Island, looking good here, Gulf of Alaska. And we got some marginal VFR now over the Prince of Wales Island area, southern Panhandle, and then up along the border a little bit. And for the afternoon, that continues to increase here. In fact, IFR now showing up over the southern areas from, we'll say, Klawock, Craig, Heidelberg, eastward there across Metlakatla, Ketchikan to roughly, possibly Stewart, with marginal VFR, maybe as far north as Juneau. Otherwise, VFR, marginal VFR increasing here. Eastern Brooks Range, maybe even making it south of the mountains there, along the Porcupine River, not quite to the Yukon. And marginal VFR now across Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, up into southern Cook Inlet and Kenai Peninsula, Togiak Bay, Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, marginal VFR in the afternoon Tuesday. Northern Bering, though, good VFR. IFR along and just off the Arctic coast. And looking good there for the Pribilofs up to St. Lawrence Island, IFR, central western Aleutians. For the passes, Anatuvik and Anigan, both VFR for the day tomorrow. And western Alaska Range, VFR for Lake Clark, Merrill, rainy VFR. And windy VFR also. Isabel and Bentasta, VFR. Sailing's visibility is unlimited for Tanita. Sailing's visibility is unlimited for Portage as well. And Chilkoot and White, good VFR. And for the freezing levels here, 2,000 feet, kind of definitely a chillier air mass in over the Panhandle now, about 2,000 to 4,000 feet. And that right up the east side here and at the surface into the Brooks Range. And then about 6,000 or 6,000 to 8,000 here for the western areas, a little bit of a cool pocket up there over the Chukchi Sea. And then with the upper level ridge, 14,000 foot freezing levels over the Bering Sea of the central Aleutians. Icing, we've got this area here with a disturbance, still coming down, clipping the eastern Boulevard Sea coast, maybe the Brooks Range with some light to very isolated moderate rime or maybe mixed icing, nothing too significant though, but about say 3,000 feet with a colder air mass. And then this area here is sliding southeastward and eastward, so we've got a fair chance of at least threat of some icing for the southern Seward Peninsula and Norton Sound, especially St. Lawrence Island, and that trend to push across the Nulato Hills with that disturbance. Otherwise, icing free everywhere else. And taking a look at the 18,000 foot wind flow chart with the 33,000 foot jet stream wind maxes added on, we've got basically a complex low here over the eastern and northeast Pacific and into the Gulf, another stationary low up there, or more or less there along the Alcan border, centered over Old Crow, and southwest flow at about 100 knots and across the Queen Charlotte's. Then we've got north to northwest flow sailing southward here along the southwest coast at about 90. High pressure over the central Bering, and then a system southwest of the Aleutians. 9,000 feet, there's that weak system with that moisture over this area here coming in from St. Lawrence Island in across Norton Sound tomorrow. Otherwise, northerlies 10 knots, not too bad, maybe 20 around the weak low there that's weakening over the southern Panhandle. Ridging from the Russian Far East across the Bering for light winds, maybe 20 to 30 knots still St. Lawrence Island, and 50 knots for, and at 3,000 feet, 25 to 35 for the Aleutians, with there'll be some occasional moderate chop from Adak out to Shimia.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm Dave Snider, and joining me today is Cindy Preller. She's the Tsunami Program Manager for Alaska Region's National Weather Service. And Cindy, we hear a lot about tsunamis in the news, probably a lot more than we used to, but let's remind everybody, what is a tsunami?
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Sure.
Tsunami is basically, it's really simple. It's just a disturbance in the water column. So the entire water column from the seafloor to the sea surface is disturbed by something major, usually a major earthquake. But it can also be a volcanic eruption, even an asteroid. Landslide is especially dangerous.
Okay, so if I'm sitting in my bathtub and I drop a bath toy, that could be a bathtub tsunami.
It is absolutely a bathtub tsunami.
Okay, very good. So Alaska is one of the states, or maybe the state, with the greatest amount of coastline, so tsunamis are a pretty major risk here in Alaska. Who is most at risk?
Yeah, Alaska is significant. We actually make most of the Pacific's tsunamis on the Aleutian Trench, and it's where the Pacific plate is subducting underneath the American plate, and we produce some very large, great quakes, and of course the most at risk is the Aleutian Trench.
Okay.
But that extends into south central Alaska as well. They're at huge risk, and then southeast Alaska's risk is really mostly landslide focused.
Okay. Are there any places along the Alaskan coastline that don't have a tsunami risk, or at least a very, very low risk?
Absolutely. The Bering Sea's risk is very low, and the Arctic's risk is very low as well.
Okay, so when we're talking about tsunami dangers, those are places that need to be monitored, but probably not really.
No, I mean, I won't say never.
Yeah, sure.
Because I know better.
Science knows better.
Right. So,
very good.
Near to never.
Okay. Well, let's just say you're on the coast, anywhere in Alaska. What are warning signs that tsunami dangers are threatening you right now?
This is super important because Alaska's greatest risk, especially out on the Aleutians and South Central, is a near-field tsunami, and then of course the landslides in southeast. It's even more intense because we can't.
So shorter warning time.
No warning time.
Okay.
The earthquake is the warning.
Okay.
And that is the most important thing for anybody to remember. The water can arrive in less than 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Wow.
Yeah. At the National Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, we need to get the warning out in 5 minutes. So for those near-field tsunamis, it's the earthquake is the warning. So if you feel shaking, and of course the first thing you do is drop, cover, and hold, and you need to start counting slowly to 20.
The right way. How do you do that?
Oh, I teach kids to do it with their favorite things. So 1 chocolate, 2 chocolate, 3 chocolate, but you can count anything you like. And if you're thinking of something happy, that helps. Especially helps kids, but it'll help your psyche.
So you don't speed up because you're getting stressed out.
Right. It actually lowers your heart rate.
Interesting.
You know, so if you think of something you love and practice that. So you're in an earthquake, you're under the table, you're next to the ocean. Right. This is important if you're next to the ocean. If you're not next to the ocean, don't worry about it. Just stay in place under cover.
And you're talking about a mile, a quarter mile? What's close?
A mile, even a couple miles. You know, our rule of thumb used to be a mile inland was safe, but the last few tsunamis have taught us otherwise. So, yeah, you know, in Japan we had inundation up to 10 miles. So.
And that was a big quake.
That was a big quake.
So you have a quake, you're counting slowly to 20.
To 20.
What's next?
And if you get to 20 and it's still shaking, you need to evacuate. And that is, that's scary.
Yeah.
Because you're evacuating in a live event that's still shaking. You know, 1964 shook for 4.5 minutes. Indonesia shook for 12 minutes.
Wow.
Japan, I think, shook for 6. I'm not sure of that, but it was long. Anyway, more than 20 seconds.
And that's a sign of a very major earthquake, the worst.
Well, 20 seconds is a magnitude 7, so that's not the worst. But what a magnitude 7 can do is trigger a landslide. And those landslides might be a submarine landslide, so you won't see it, you won't hear it, you won't know it, and then the water's moving. So that's really, really, really dangerous. That's what happened in '64 first. Seward, Valdez, Whittier all had landslides first.
And when you're talking about the water is a warning sign too. What happens with the water that gives you a very easy visual sign that something's changing? Not
guaranteed. It might go out, it might go way out really fast enough to leave the fish behind, but that's not guaranteed. It might just be a fast flood instead. So either way, if it's acting like a super fast rising tide, faster than a tide should rise, get out of there. And if it goes out really fast, get out of there. You know, we lost a lot of lives because people will go check out the new tide pools or pick up fish or shells or, you know, so, and it should feel weird. You know, it should be weird.
So pay attention to those natural warning signs and how you feel, because those are maybe the only clues you have.
Right, and you know, sound also. You
Okay.
can hear a tsunami. It'll sound like a roaring train, maybe.
Okay.
Or it might sound silent because the water's been pulled out.
Right.
And that's pretty weird. Imagine camping
Yeah.
at night
Yeah.
near the beach, and all of a sudden you don't hear the ocean anymore.
That would be different.
That would be weird.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you also might hear blowing bubbles, and that's actually from the pressure that's blowing the air out from the sand grains, rock grains.
Interesting.
So if you hear blowing bubbles, that's a little weird.
Okay.
Or clinking rocks, you know, like a rain stick. So those are the sound signs. So the visual is rushing in or rushing out, and roaring especially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of work to get people and keep people aware of what the tsunami warning signs are and what their risks are around Alaska. And there's a website that can help them do that. Where can they go online to get more information for their school, their home, their church, their business?
Oh, there's several. The National Tsunami Warning Center has a website as well, and the easiest way to look that up is just NTWC.
NTWC.
The URL is not intuitive at all.
Okay.
There's also ready.alaska.gov. The state of Alaska has a lot of helpful stuff. Preparedness kits. They have everything you need to get ready.
Okay.
And then for teachers and others, there's a wonderful curriculum called Alaska Tsunami Education Program.
Alaska Tsunami Education Program. Okay.
And that's AKwx.
AKwx. Okay, very good. Those are really good tips to get more information and search that out and help your own community stay safe with the threat of tsunamis around Alaska. Next time we come back and talk to you some more about the Tsunami Ready program and get more in depth on how people can learn more about the risks and what to do here in Alaska. So thank you for joining us today, Cindy. And next time on Alaska Weather Facts, more on tsunamis around Alaska. We'll see you next time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis way north here off the coast. Off the chart there, up here over this area and back to the northwest of Wrangel Island. And not a lot of change expected, continue slowly melting over the next 4 or 5 days. And moving on to the coastal water forecast, lighter winds today across all the Panhandle. East-southeast 10 to 15 on the south coast, northeast 15 increasing to 25 knots up there toward Yakutat. North 25 for Lynn Canal, slowly diminishing throughout the day. North 10 Stevens Passage, southeast 15 Clarence Strait. Outlook for Tuesday. Look for those winds to increase here, especially Stevens Passage, looking for gusts to 35 knots. So gale warnings there with sustained 40 knots. North 20 for Lynn Canal, southeast 25 for Clarence Strait, and then gale force northeasterly winds at 35 knots on the south coast, seas at 16 feet. Small craft advisories for the central and north coast for north to northeast at 25 to 30 knots, but falling back to 15 knots farther to the north. Prince William Sound tomorrow, light northeast winds, 10 knots, seas 2 feet. East 15 for the eastern North Gulf Coast, west side here, east at 10, same forecast with the Barrens. Light winds from the east at 10 knots, and Kamishak Bay north at 15. North to northeast 15 knots for Cook Inlet, those seas at about 4 feet. Outlook for Monday, a little more variable and light winds continue. Just call it kind of a basic westerly component to the wind here for Cook Inlet at 10 knots, 2 to 3 foot seas. Southwest 10 for the Barren Islands and Kamishak Bay, and northwest 10 for the western North Gulf Coast, and then the Middleton Island zone, southwest at 10. Prince William Sound, northwest 10. Seas 2 to 3 feet all through this area. And Chillicothe Strait, northeast winds 10 knots, but 20 knots here on the east side of Kodiak Island. All the way down, Sitkinak to Castle Cape, northeast 20, and then 15 knot northeast winds on the Pacific side of the peninsula. Top side there, north at 10, and northeast 15 for Bristol Bay. Moving on to Tuesday, south to southwest, pretty light there for Kodiak, 10 knots, 2 to 3 foot seas. South 10 for Bristol Bay, light northeast winds here for the Bering Sea side of the peninsula, and the Pacific side from Cape Sarichef all the way up to Sitkinak, southwest 15, seas 5 feet. Fox Islands tomorrow on Alaska Island, northeast 15. Unmak Island, east at 15, seas running 4 to 6 feet. Adak and Atka, Central Aleutians, east 20 to 25 knots. Good small craft advisories there. from just west of Adak all the way out to Chimianatu at 30 knots and 10 to 11 foot seas. Throw some gales in, or those will edge up and hit the gale threshold here for the western Aleutians, Kiska Island on out to Shimia. Stay east, seas build to 16 feet, 30 knot winds hold here west of Adak, and then 20 to 30 knot winds for the Adak-Atka area. Out of the east, 5 to 11 foot seas. And southeast 15 to 20, Unmac Island, Unalaska Island, south at 10 to 15 knots with 3 to 5 foot seas. Southwest coast, north at 10 tomorrow. Same thing for Norton Sound, northeast 15 for St. Lawrence Island, northwest 15 St. Matthew Island, northeast 15 for the Pribilofs with 4 foot seas. And the outlook for Tuesday, north 20 knots for St. Lawrence Island, northeast 15 and Norton Sound, northeast winds 15 to 20 knots here for the southwest coast. Small craft advisories, northern Bering Sea in and around the greater St. Matthew Island area, north at 10, so pretty light for the Pribilofs. And up to the Arctic coast, central coast, light winds from the north at 10, northeast 10 on the east side, kick up to maybe 15 knots there due to those weak disturbances you get over toward demarcation point. West side, northeast 15, picks up to 20 knots from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson to Wales, north at 15. And then 20 knot winds from Wales up to Cape Thompson here for the southeast Chukchi Sea, seas 5 feet. 15 knot winds coming around the area back up to Cape Beaufort. Light northerlies there for the eastern, central, and western coast, and east at 10 over toward demarcation point. For tonight, still unsettled, kind of moisture, low flying conditions, increasing rain, thickening, lowering clouds there. Seward Peninsula rain should get into the, well, at least to Gamble, and clouds spreading southeastward. Otherwise fair, lighter winds southern Alaska, and fair for the Panhandle. Outlook for tomorrow, rain spreading in the Yukon Delta, rain spreading into the eastern Arctic coast and the eastern Brooks Range, sunshine, southern Alaska up to the northwest and the Panhandle, Kodiak, another sunny day, both tomorrow and Tuesday. Or I'm sorry, not Tuesday, you'll get showers on Tuesday and rain in the Panhandle.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.